You all set, man? Oh, I
I
can't
am.
hear you. Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, I was like, okay, there's some video issues here. But you just
No,
have
that's on
the
purpose.
glitch effect. The
Yeah.
glitch effect's running. I'm like, oh, I get it. I got it.
All right, let me hit record. Here, give me a quick test. Just say hello or something.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello, everybody. I don't know if we're live, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh, okay, there we go. It's showing up. Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to Stadiacast, your source for all the Stadia news that you can shake a stick at. I'm Bill, that's Lloyd. What's up, Lloyd? How's it going, man?
Doing very well this morning. Got some gaming in over the last week. I'm ready to sit here and chat about some Stadia awesomeness with the people that are watching.
That's right.
And listening.
And listening. That's true. Before we get started, speaking of watching, we do record this show live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern at youtube.com/Stadiacast. If you want to directly support the show, that's super easy to do. If you're here with us live, use the super chat feature that supports the show, and it makes sure that we see your message, and we will respond to every super chat at the second half of the show, which we call crowd play. You can also now become a member right here on this YouTube channel. If you want to know more about that, click on the join button right down below the video. Let's start off with what we've been playing. What have you been playing, Lloyd?
I've been playing a lot of Destiny, but also a lot of Darksiders Genesis, which is really the one that's been taking up the bulk of my time here on Stadia. Did an awesome stream on Thursday night. It was really late because of running around that I had to do, and we had about 50 people came out to watch me make my way through the first level a couple times. It was actually a heck of a lot of fun, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. So I'm loving the game, man. It is really, really good, and it's not a Diablo like I was hoping. There's no like random loot that is always falling. It's scratching enough of that itch that is making me very, very happy.
How far into the game are you so far?
I'm on the 3rd level. What I do is I play a level and then I replay a level to get all the stuff that I couldn't get before, and then I play the next level. So I'm going through a little bit more. I don't know, a little more collectathon-y. Although there is a bunch of stuff that I can't in the 2nd and 3rd level. I can't seem to get. So there must be other abilities that you gain as you make your way through the game.
Gotcha. Okay. I think I finished chapter 5 2 days ago. I didn't play anything yesterday. I haven't played anything at all yesterday. But I finished chapter 5, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I don't know if you've run into this yet, but one of the things that I really like about it is you do end up getting these drops, which are like, I don't know, it's just like fiery ant or whatever, or stinging gnat, and you collect that stuff. And there is almost like a tech tree.
Yep.
Where you can slot stuff in, and I love how customizable that is. It allows you to go through and say, all right, I'm going to put this here and this here, and I really want to have this plus 2.5%, what's the word I'm looking for, attack power, but that's a slot that's made for like the heart symbol, and this is a dagger symbol, so I'm going to put in this heart symbol thing that I think is really cool. And I can see how it can really, first off, you can decide which side you want to go to. Do you want to go towards the strife side, or do you want to go towards the war side? And over time, I feel like people are going to everybody's going to be playing a little bit differently as they start slotting these things in and getting the powers that they want, which I think is very cool and adds a lot of replay value.
100%. I was wondering if there was going to be sort of a a tree, like a level power tree of some sort, because that is what action RPGs do. Like you're given loot, you're given powers, you're given currency, you're given all this stuff. But at the start of the game, it didn't appear that there was any sort of powers to unlock, other than like different bullets or some different other like sub weapons. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's going to be a little bit thin. And then I unlock this tech tree, and I'm like, oh, okay. So not only can I choose the different paths that I want to go, but I can put different like I guess essences of these different creatures into different things, which then do different stuff. So I could put one here, or if I like the different type of damage, I can put another one there. So it's a little bit different than most skill trees that I've seen, where you're basically choosing your power, and then working your way down, because I want to have like the super bow shot. This one is like you're basically just putting these power up orbs in different areas, and depending on where you put it, they either get bonuses or not. Such a smart way to do it, and it really kind of gives you something to collect now, because it's not a looter shooter. It's not a Diablo game where you kill a guy and 5 pieces of armor fly off of him. So this is really giving you something to then go and collect and upgrade your character that way, which I'm really digging. It adds a little bit of depth to a game that I thought would lack a little bit of depth as you're making your way through it.
I do feel like it, for me personally, I would have preferred if they had gone more into the gear upgrades style, in order to say, all right, more like Diablo. I would have preferred that. And I think that they should have maybe shown us a little more information about the game, so people didn't expect that, because that's completely what I expected. Now, to be completely fair, when I looked at the game, I was like, oh, it's a Diablo game, I'm gonna get it, and I stopped paying attention to anything because I didn't want to, you know what I mean. So maybe that's on me, but I wish that they had been a little more, I don't know, forthcoming with that information. That being said,
Sure.
I am absolutely having a lot of fun with it. I've never really been a fan of the button mashing, where you know, X X X Y X X X Y X, where you have like these abilities where you have to hit a certain number or a certain sequence of buttons in order to do this attack. That's never been something that I've really enjoyed. There's been very few exceptions. One of those exceptions was the oh my gosh, my brain is Fire Emblem Warriors and Hyrule Warriors on the Nintendo Switch. I had an absolute blast with both of those games, and those are very much the button mashing kind of game. I also really liked the Star Wars one that came out back on the Xbox 360. I thought that was fantastic. I think it was called Force Unleashed. Those games I really, really liked, even though that's not my kind of game. This, I think, is going to convince me that, hey, this is not my kind of game, but I am still going to enjoy playing through this game. And I'm already on chapter 5, and I'm having a blast with it. I've been doing mostly a chapter a day when I have time to sit down and play. I haven't touched Destiny 2 since I got this, because I've been trying to focus on finishing this. Well, I'm sorry, finishing Guilt and working on this as well. So I haven't gone back to Destiny 2, even though apparently people have been posting in the Discord that we need to get in there and talk to somebody named Zer to get some fancy equipment. Have you been playing anything else other than Darksiders?
A little bit of Destiny. There was a particular upgrade that I wanted on the season, because when we got access to Destiny, the season was almost over. So I wanted to get to like at least season level 8, which isn't very far, but I haven't had a lot of time to play that, because I'm playing Pokemon, I'm playing a couple other things on my Switch. So I wanted to get this one item, and I'm like, it sounds really cool, I'm going to get to it. And then I got to it, and then it turns out that item is useless at the end of the season. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I did all this work to get there, and it's useless. But as soon as the next season starts in Destiny, I'm going to be playing a lot more of that, because I want to upgrade, or unlock rather, all these upgrades that you get as you make your way through the season. Still really enjoying it. There's something so amazing about being on lunch at work, have a half hour, and I go to google.stadia.com or stadia.google.com. 10 seconds later, I'm playing with mouse and keyboard. I do a mission, I do a quest. 20 minutes later, I close everything down, and then I'm back at just doing my normal stuff. Like having that small little break through the day where I don't even have to bring out my Switch and play, which is what I normally do. I'm just doing it right on my PC. Is it's so awesome. I love it, love it, love it. So I'm Stadia is really fitting well. It's filling a hole in my kind of gaming needs that I've had. So I've been loving it that much.
How okay, you said you've been playing it at work, you've been playing with mouse and keyboard. How do you feel that that's been working for you? I tried mouse and keyboard day one. It felt really bad to me, and I haven't really gone back to it ever since I've gotten my my Chromecast hooked up to my capture card. I have been only using the controller, and I've not played in the browser since. So have you seen any changes to that over time?
Yeah, I've had almost no lag with keyboard and mouse. It's pretty solid. I'm not a good keyboard and mouse player for first person shooters, but for a game like Destiny, it works really, really well. Darksiders, on the other hand, works terribly if you're keyboard and mouse because it's like a third three-quarter overhead isometric thing, so you're never walking straight like towards the screen. You're always walking like that, so you have to hold like W and D or W and A to kind of move through the world. So keyboard and mouse with that game is not so much fun, but for Destiny it works really, really well. I'm really happy with the support there, or with
I,
the with how it plays, because I know you did have issues right at the start.
I will say this, when playing Darksiders, and there's times where my character is like clinging to a wall or something, and I want to climb up over the ledge, and I will jump off to the side, and it's not because of input, it's because of the direction of the camera, and pushing up on the joystick is up, which makes sense, but it's not the exact direction of up, so I kind of have to push off axis in order to match the camera, and my brain has trouble with that, and it's gotten me killed more than once, but that's okay. Would you recommend Darksiders Genesis to people who have been wondering if they should pick it up or not?
Yeah, like I mean, it's all different, different based on your situation. If you really want to play this on a console, it's going to be available on a true traditional console in February. The Stadia console, which is what we're kind of calling it because it is sort of a closed thing compared to the PC, is out now. So if you want to play it now, jump in, get it on Stadia. But then we probably are going to be talking about this soon. It's not in the show notes, but maybe we can talk about it now. The pricing for Darksiders on Stadia is console pricing. The price for Darksiders Genesis on PC is PC pricing. So at launch, it was almost $15 US cheaper to buy it on Steam than it was on Stadia. And everyone is like Twitter lambasting Google, and it's just like, you guys are ripping us off, and you're giving us bad quality, and now you're charging us too much. But what people don't understand, like, this is the distributor, this is the publisher of the game sets the price. Google doesn't say you're charging $40, that's it. So I think that anger was misdirected. It was pointed at the wrong direction. If you're really angry about the pricing, either, well, don't buy the game, or talk to the publishers and say, hey, how come it's $15 cheaper on Steam and other PC places, not on the Stadia store? You got to really direct that stuff in the right direction.
Well, okay, so let's actually talk about the reason that it is cheaper on Steam than it is on other consoles. And when this does come to other consoles in February, it's going to be $40 on the Switch. It's going to be $40 on Xbox. It's going to be $40 on PlayStation, because that's the console price.
Yep.
So the next question might be, why is it more expensive on console than it is on PC? And I think that there's multiple reasons, and I'm planning on, like, I've kind of gotten my thoughts together for a video that I'm going to do on this at some point about how much games should cost. But the real thing that we have to remember is that there are resellers in the PC market where they buy codes and then they resell them. So like Humble Bundle, you go to Humble Bundle, you get a game, and you pay $5 and you get like 7 games. That's very, very compelling. When you go to Steam during certain times of the year, you get games for like $4, and the price. Basically, what I'm saying is the existence of resellers, the existence of all these freebies like the Epic Games Store, the existence of the Steam sales have taught us as consumers. They've inadvertently devalued the price of video games over time, and I think that is a huge mistake. And while I've taken advantage of that, and I'm very happy to have a bunch of very, very cheap games at my at my disposal, it has lowered the price that people are willing to pay on PC. So now when developers bring a game, or publishers bring a game to PC, they know the PC market just won't support this price, even though it is a perfectly fair price. If you look at the price of video games over time, they have continually gone down if you adjust for inflation. Yep. Games have gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and they've gotten more and more expensive. So why is it cheaper on PC? Because the PC people, not the customers, but the publishers and the platform holders, has shot themselves in the foot, and it's too late. There's nothing they can do about it now. So that's why the PC price is always lower. And this kind of brings me back to a conversation that you and I had a long time ago about not that long ago, but is Stadia a console or a PC? And I think publishers are looking at Stadia as if it is a console, and they're going to be pricing and treating it like that. What do you think, Lloyd?
100%. We, as you said, we talked about this, and we said that even though it's essentially a PC, it's running on PC hardware. You can use a keyboard and mouse. You can use any sort of controller that you have. Stadia is more a console because it's locked. It's a black box sitting somewhere where users can't put their own code. They can't transfer save games back and forth with a USB key or downloading something from the internet. For all intents and purposes, it is a console. It looks like we're getting a little bit of confirmation on that from at least the publishers that are charging console prices for the same content that is maybe a little bit cheaper on the PC.
And I think that over time people will start to understand this. And when we ask that question, is Stadia a console or a PC? And everybody yelled at us about, hey, this is a stupid question and you're just trying to create divisiveness. That's not what we were trying to do. We saw this kind of thing coming, and we were trying to have a conversation about that in an inarticulate way, I guess. All right, Lloyd, you said that you wanted to talk about Google Play credit, and you've had kind of an issue with this. What's the issue that you've had?
All right, so I'm a big fan of using gift cards. A lot of the times when I make purchases, whether it's on Xbox or PlayStation or Nintendo, instead of linking my credit card with that service, because I don't like having my credit card out there. I've been burned in the past with like Sony getting hacked and all my card information getting hijacked. I generally don't keep my credit card linked with anything. So when Stadia was coming out, it's like, well, how the heck are we going to buy games on Stadia without having a credit card linked? And then as soon as Stadia launched, I heard people online talking about, well, it uses my Google Play credit. This is fantastic. So as soon as I got back from my trip and went to the mall and was there, I bought a bunch of Google Play cards and loaded up my Google Play account. Went immediately into my app, went to purchase it, or went to purchase something with it, and there was no way to do it on iOS because I'm an Apple user for my phone. When you click buy, the only option you have is to use your linked credit card or to add a credit card. There's no way to use your Google Play credit. And I'm like, that's really weird. So went online again and sure enough saw screenshots of people that were doing it, but then noticed that they're running on an Android. So I asked around, and everybody I know that had an Android phone was able to do that. On iOS, no one could do it. So it's like, okay, maybe there's some limitations with taking purchases in app. They don't want to give Apple their 30% or whatever. I get that. That makes sense. But then our next story, when we're going to be talking about, or I guess part of the story, when we're going to be talking about the updates that they did to Stadia.google.com, you can now browse the store on the web. And I'm like, perfect. This is all in Google's ecosystem. This is going to be great. So you go, you click store, you pick the game you want, you click buy, and it only lists the ability to pay with the credit card you have linked, or to add or add a new debit or credit card. And I'm like, oh my god, okay, so I'm in trouble. I can't do it anyway. I've loaded up my account with all this Google Play credit, and I can do nothing with it. So we were chatting on Discord and in Twitter, and everyone said, well, just use an emulator. Just use an emulator. I'm like, fine. So I went out there on PC and I downloaded like 3 different Android emulators, and either they didn't work, or they were running such an old version of Android that the Play Store wasn't working. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Eventually this support will be added, or it won't. Whatever, that money is gone. I'm fine with that. And then someone said, hey, use BlueStacks. And BlueStacks is an Android emulator, which is available for PC and Mac. And I didn't download it initially because people are saying that it's just a way to play free to play games essentially on your PC. And I was like, well, does it have full play activity or full play support? Couldn't see that. And I'm like, you know what, whatever. I was on my MacBook. I downloaded BlueStacks, and within 15 minutes, I had the Stadia app loaded, and I could spend my credit. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So I just did it as we were starting the show today. I downloaded BlueStacks. How far is it? We're 20 minutes in. It was probably about 10 minutes ago when I had it working. A fresh download from BlueStacks, linking my Play Store account and downloading the Stadia app. I can now go in there and spend my Google Play credit that I have. So it works really, really well. If you're kind of stuck in the same boat as me, where you have a bunch of Google Play credit that you want to spend on games, but you're maybe not able to do it on an Android phone, download BlueStacks. It seems like it's perfectly fine. And then you can play some terrible free-to-play Android games at the same time.
One of my friends is the excuse me. One of my friends is the host of the Pokemon Go podcast, and on Discord, it always says playing BlueStacks. And so I figured, oh, maybe that's how they play Pokemon Go, and it never occurred to me that you could do this. Now, Darren Pogue in chat said something very important. This is too complicated. You are 100% right. This is way too complicated. You should not have to jump through this many hoops in order to spend your money. Now, keep in mind that while this is not something that is supported now, they have to be supporting. They have to support it in the future. There's no way that they're going to continue down this road without supporting this in the future on iOS. I just can't see it. It's like them telling me that I couldn't watch YouTube movies that I've purchased on my iOS device. I'm sure that at some point it didn't work all that well, and now it just works fine. So
yeah, it's a little bit different from that, because you are making a payment. So what was it? Netflix pulled out of iOS. You can't buy Netflix on iOS. You actually have to go to a web browser, go to Netflix, pay for your subscription, and then log in with that account. But this is no different than saying using the Amazon app to buy something from Amazon and have it shipped to me. I'm using a storefront inside of iOS. So I can't see where Apple would have an issue with that, but maybe there is. But on the web, I mean, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to do that. I can go to play.google.com and I can buy an app. I should be able to go to stadia.google.com and use that same credit, unless Google never intended for Play credit to be used for Stadia, and they're coming out with Stadia credit. And when we go live, there's going to be Stadia cards in the store, which has a total other set of currency that Google's going to be storing for us. And if that's the case, oh my God, that is so confusing, because right now I could buy a friend or a kid a Google Play Store, a card, and they can either buy stuff on their Android, they can buy donuts and Simpsons Tapped Out, or they can buy a Stadia game or in-app purchases for that. So hopefully Google isn't going to get that complex with having yet another currency they're going to track. But they need to make it accessible everywhere in the whole ecosystem if they're going to be supporting a card for credit.
I don't think that we're going to have Stadia credit, because when I spoke to when I interviewed John, he said that they would I'm 90% sure. I'm not sure if I asked him that or if that's something that somebody asked in the AMA, but I'm 99.9% sure that they said Google Play Credit is the one that's going to work.
Mhm.
And if it's already working um on Android, then I think moving forward it's going to eventually work on iOS. And if not, we'll be able to do it on the web browser. I I,
That's right.
I do feel like the browser. Okay, so first off, you kind of brought this up. You can now access the store on the web. Is there anything that you want to talk about with that?
Um, just that I'm happy it's there.
Okay.
I don't have to open up my phone to do that. We've talked a little bit about or I guess you added it to the show notes where if this is what the store is going to look like, it's going to get pretty untenable really quick. But Google runs the Play Store online. You can look at all their apps. They've had this figured out for a while. I think the reason why there's so many huge icons and things on it right now is just because there's just so very few games that are on Stadia right now.
Right. This reminds me of, and we bring up Nintendo a lot because Lloyd and I have a lot of Nintendo experience, but it reminds me of the eShop on the Nintendo Switch. When it first came out, we were like, oh, it's so fast. It looks great. It's awesome. And now it's just a disaster because there's so many games on there and it's just not really sortable in any real easy way or fashion. And that's
Right.
what I thought when I looked at the store for Stadia. I looked at it and I said, hey, it's great for now. There's 18 games. When we get 300 400 games next year, it's going to be a disaster and it's going to be hard to find anything. And I hope that they find a way to fix it. And, you're making a good point, Lloyd, that eventually I'm sure that they'll use what they learned from the Google Play Store and apply
Mhm.
that here. Anyway, anything else about the store?
No, just that. What is it? Where is it? Oh yeah, Commander Senel, I guess, in the chat room, it's saying Stadia proscription appears on my Google Play Store account. That's the first thing that they noticed at launch, and yeah, exactly. So the likelihood of Google creating another currency is very unlikely, but they should be supporting Play everywhere that the store exists if that's what they're going to be using. But this is early. Stadia's in paid beta is what I like to call it because we're paying for a service that doesn't have very many features at launch, but they keep iterating and adding features as it goes on. I'm sure by the time that this is available to the masses, all this stuff is just going to be problems of the past and there's going to be no issues there.
Well, let's talk about the future. T-Mobile and Microsoft are teaming up for xCloud. I know this is a Stadia show, but that doesn't mean that we can't talk about other things that are directly going to relate to this. And so let's take a look at this story. It says here, this is from T-Mobile's actual website. T-Mobile is the U.S. technical partner for Microsoft's public preview of Project xCloud, streaming Xbox games like blah, 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 blah over LTE. Now, the reason I put this in the show notes is because, first off, this is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that there's a lot of people out there who are going to say, hold on, why is this fantastic? Because this is what makes competition good. When I talked to John said, right now we're not going to do LTE because it's just not good enough of an experience. And while that may be true, it looks like Microsoft and T-Mobile are trying to make it a good enough experience. And maybe this will push Google to improve their, whatever it is that they're doing later. Look, Google is going to push Microsoft to improve their service. Microsoft
Right.
is going to push Google to improve their service. And at the end of the day, this is a good thing. That being said, this is a good thing as long as the bandwidth that is used through xCloud counts just like any other bandwidth. I hope that and I read through this whole thing on the website. It's kind of long. Well, not long, but very dry. I read through the whole thing. It didn't say anything in there about, hey, this doesn't count towards your stream cap. What am I thinking? Data cap. This doesn't count towards your data cap. It
Right.
didn't see anything about that in there, which is good. I don't want them to make some kind of deal where it doesn't count against your data cap, because that means that Microsoft paid T-Mobile to do that, and then they would increase their price on the other end, so we're actually paying for that, not counting against your data cap. The same reason why I don't want Google partnering with somebody so that Stadia stuff doesn't count against their data cap, because they would just increase the price of stuff over time to pay for that, because Google pays for that. What are your thoughts on this, Lloyd?
It makes me go back to something that superhero John Justice said, where hopefully once Stadia's out, your cable providers and your internet service providers are going to start working with you to increase data caps and raise things, make it a better service. And everyone's like, Google's they must be drunk. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, no service provider is ever going to work with a content provider. That's just not the way they do business. And then not even like a month later, this story comes out where one of the leading mobile services in the US is now working with a game provider to make sure that everything is working well. This is the way the world works, people. So all the people that are throwing up their hands saying this will never happen, they're obviously not the people that are listening to this show. They're the people that want to complain about everything because they like buying games the way that they're buying games now. But this just means that in the future, there's probably going to be this sort of service with this sort of deal with other services where you're going to have, I don't know, Comcast working with Google. I'm in Canada, so I don't even know what Comcast is, other than a name that I hear people spew hate about on podcasts for people in the US. But it would be like Shaw or MTS in Canada working with Google to make sure that they have the shortest possible connection to Google Stadia servers, and put in those peering relationships. Something as simple as that can make Stadia that much better for people out there. Whether it's your first hour of Stadia games a day don't count towards your bandwidth, who knows if that's going to come. But just making sure that the network is ready for that service is going to be great, and it's going to make it that much better for a lot of people out there. So for this is really good. When 5G comes out, 5G is way faster than 4G. 5G also needs to have your antennas like 5 feet apart, like obviously not that much, but you need to have so many antennas blanketing the city. But 5G is almost as fast as home broadband, and it has the latency similar to that. So you could actually play Stadia games on your phone if you have 5G without any sort of issues. I've seen people that have used various methods to use LTE, and they say, "Oh, it's terrible." Yep, that's why it's not supported right away at launch, because LTE is not a good it's not good for low latency applications. 5G will be. So T-Mobile partnering with Microsoft to make sure that this is working is just going to be a really great thing. And it's going to benefit everybody. It's not just going to benefit Microsoft. It's going to benefit anybody else that uses T-Mobile for this type of application.
And not only just T-Mobile, but I'm sure that Microsoft will take what they learn from working with T-Mobile, and they'll tell the other carriers, here's what we learned, can you implement this stuff? And then the carriers will probably talk to Google, and they'll say, hey, here's what we learned by doing this, maybe we can try this stuff to make it better for you. Now, do I think that Google is going to change their mind based on this and start doing it over LTE? I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon.
No.
But honestly, I kind of fall both ways on that. Like, it's a very Apple way that Google is doing this. They're saying you're going to do things this way and only this way. And most of the time, Google's been the ones who've been like, well, you know, hands off. You just do. They're very laissez-faire about stuff. You just kind of do your own thing and figure it out. But I think that they know that a lot of gamers are not technical people, and so they want to make sure I think they're adding in all of these restrictions in order to make the number of pain points that people run into down the road as few as possible. And at least that's how I think it's probably happening.
Exactly. And Google, like right up front, says we want to give you console quality game experiences on the web or on your Chromecast or on your phone. So they're pretty adamant about keeping it to 1080p for devices that support it and 4K for devices that support it. They haven't really talked about maybe I want to go to 720p because the game doesn't require that much bandwidth or that much visual quality. Maybe I'm playing a farming simulator. I don't care if it's 4K. I don't need my blades of grass to look that much more glistening in the sun. If I was playing 720p, that would be great. So maybe they're going to have a mobile quality where if you're playing on a phone over LTE, it drops down to 720p, something like that. I could see them doing that because if you're playing xCloud right now, you're playing it on a phone and it's 720p, and that's the only option you have. You can't do, I want to do 60 frames a second, I want 4K. Nope, none of that is there. You're doing 720p on your phone. So maybe in the future, that'll be what Google will have. They'll have another lower quality, which is just for mobile experiences, which is limited to 720p and allows you to play on your device that way. I'd be fine with that. If I was playing 720p on my phone, I'd be okay because the screen is so small. I don't need higher resolution for most things.
Right. Okay. I got good news for you, Lloyd. They actually already have that built in. If you go to your Stadia app and on the very top and you click on, for me, it's a little dinosaur on there, and then you scroll down, you can see data usage and performance. And if you click on that, you have best visual quality, balanced, and limited data usage. And for the limited data usage, it says limit your data usage to 4.5 gigabits per hour. Visual quality
Right.
will be capped at 720p resolution. Now, you still can't use this on mobile, but they do have that for you if you want to make sure that you're only doing 720p. Like if you only have a 720p TV in your house, then that's probably what you want to go with. But
Sure.
I think that in the future, that those options are going to be more and more as they test more stuff. In fact, I bet you this is what Google will probably do is they will start rolling out features to small segments of the population first, and they'll say, test this out for us. Because that's what they do with their apps when they update their apps on iOS and Android. They always like they roll it out in like waves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I knew that bandwidth saver was there, but I meant more of just a class where it automatically chooses that if you're on a phone, but then chooses 1080p on a PC or 4K on your CCU.
I understand.
Or the ability to hold down the Stadia button on your controller or some other button on your controller to bring up a picker, which how do you want your quality to be? Well, I want it to be 720p today, and then do it that way. So it'd be nice to have those options to choose that. Either if you're on a mobile device, it defaults, or the ability to just drop down a menu and do that for when you need to drop your bandwidth a little bit. Maybe you're on a congested network or something. But all those features are going to come as Stadia gets more and more mature. We've already seen so many things added to the UI, which we thought would necessitate a press release or something from Google, but no, they just like, here's the store on the web, go for it. They're really quick to just add new features and not really even talk about it, which is definitely a different way of doing stuff in the game space.
It's funny. So last week they said, hey, we're not going to do so many updates.
Yeah.
And then they did 5 updates last week, I think, or 4 updates last week. They said we're gonna slow down our release cadence. They said that on Monday, as far as how often we're gonna tell you about stuff. And then they told us about something on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's like, what are you doing? All right,
Yeah.
let's take a quick break. We'll thank our sponsors. When we come back, I've got a couple of PSAs for you, and then crowd play. Stick around, everybody.
Buy a ColecoVision and a Coleco game cartridge by November 15th. We'll send you a free Cabbage Patch Kid by Christmas.
All right, we are back. Quick PSA for you. Destiny 2, the collection, includes all upcoming seasons up through 2020. Somebody sent this to me through an email, so thank you very much for that. But this is found on the official subreddit, and I'm trying to find the button to hit to show it to everybody. Here it is. I didn't realize this, but Destiny 2, the collection, has all upcoming seasons unlocked for you all already. So it has Shadowkeep, Forsaken, Annual Pass, Warmind, Curse of Osiris, the Red War, which, by the way, those stories are awesome, and those fights are awesome, so go play those. But then all upcoming seasons through summer 2020. I don't know anything about Destiny 2, Lloyd. Am I like after 2020? First off, how often do seasons come out, and how much do they cost?
Your guess is as good as mine. I hadn't played I haven't played any Destiny 2 until Stadia came out. I played a lot of Destiny 1, but the launch of Destiny 2 was maybe a little bit rougher than many people had hoped, and I never bought into it. So I know they added seasons similar to like Fortnite, where you pay your 950 V-bucks and you get the whole 100 levels of loot unlock. So I was kind of surprised to see how large it was, and the fact that the season was ending almost immediately after the Stadia version coming out. But I don't know what the cost is. Goblin Lord is saying every 3 months there's a new season. I'm not sure what the price of that is. I would assume it's probably like $10 in their silver, because you can buy their silver coins. So it'll be whatever the $10 equivalent would be, similar to what it is on all the other game platforms, I would assume.
All right, so they come out every 3 months. The next one is coming out this month, right?
Yep.
All right, so this month, and then again in March, and then again in June. So essentially, we're getting $30 worth of seasons, unless you count this season that's already happening. So I guess $40 worth of seasons for buying the Founders Pack or the what do they call the white one? I always forget. Premier?
Premier Edition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Premier Edition. So now you know. And speaking of that, I've been getting a lot of people telling me to look for Xur to upgrade your weapons and stuff. So if you want more information about that, join the Discord over at runjumpstomp.com/Discord. People there will tell you where to find the thing that it is that you're looking for in order to have more powerful weapons, I guess. I don't know. I haven't bothered. I haven't played on the weekend for Destiny 2 like at all. I've been focusing on Destiny 2 during the week, and then on the weekends I've been working on Guilt and now Darksiders Genesis, which both of those games are really fantastic. The next PSA that I have for everybody is that if you remember, we talked about that there's this save game bug in Final Fantasy 15, and Square had the awful, I don't know what they were thinking, but they said, we don't know when or if this is going to be fixed. And Google stepped in and said, we're working on it. So they were working on it. And then Grace from Google posted this over at community.stadia.com. She says, update on December 5th, which is 3 days ago. Hey, folks, thanks for your patience. The issue is now resolved and fix has been deployed to all users. So now you know it's been fixed. Lloyd, do you find it odd that Google stepped in to fix this when it seemed like a developer problem?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics, so maybe it was something where when the little virtual machine that spins up whenever someone plays Final Fantasy 15, maybe there was some settings that weren't set properly, so it didn't have enough storage for whatever the save volume is. Maybe it's something as simple as that. I would assume that it would have been a developer issue, but maybe it was just a setup of the virtual machine that this game is running on issue.
Right. So I thought it was a developer issue too, and but you know, still Square really screwed the pooch by saying what they did. Like, that was not the way to respond to a paying customer. Right. All right, that's it for our main show. Now we've got crowd play. This is where we take your tweets, your YouTube comments, and your super chats, and we respond to those. So first one comes from a tweet from Anthony Talcott. He's almost a co-host of the show. He's been with us since the beginning, always tweeting great questions at us. He says, question for the podcast: with T-Mobile planning on low band 5G across the country, do you think Stadia will rethink not supporting mobile data? So we kind of already talked about that, but do you have anything to add since we already kind of tackled it?
I don't think so. 5G rollout is going to be really slow. Like the technology difference between LTE and 5G is just like your antennas have to be so close to each other, where it's going to take a lot of time to get this rolled out to areas, and it's probably not going to be something that you can use if you're in a rural area where you're driving through like down a highway. You're going to lose 5G just because they can't keep those antennas so close to each other. So it's going to be a slow rollout. But it's cool. It's cool that there is going to be some partnership happening. It's cool that they're looking at it right now, but I really think that's going to be a couple of years out thing before the bulk of the country or the continent is going to be covered with 5G service.
And for anybody out there who is thinking, oh, 5G is going to save us, Lloyd said the most important thing. It's going to be a very slow rollout. And I recommend that you check out, there's one of my favorite tech YouTubers is MKBHD, Marquez Brownlee. And he bought a 5G phone and flew to a city that had 5G and did tests because he's a giant YouTuber and can afford to do all this stuff. And he did these tests, and sure enough, like, he walked on the other side of a tree and he lost his 5G signal and it went back to LTE. So 5G is not ready, and it's not going to be ready for a long time. So I know that there's a lot of people who assume that that's going to be the savior. Yes, in 10 years. It's going to be a very, very long time. I think that cloud gaming will be well and firmly established long before 5G is everywhere that you're looking for. Just because, as Lloyd was saying, those antennas have to be really, really close together, and that's just the way that it works. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Jeremy in the chat room says the 5G map in my city is literally street by street. So you might have it on 4th Street, but not 5th. And that's exactly what it's going to be. Like, your antennas have to be around 500 feet apart. So if you look at cell towers in your city right now, they're miles apart or kilometers apart, depending on if you're American or Canadian. Trying to get them 500 feet apart, like, where they're going to go? Are they going to go on like street lamps? Is that where they're going to have to exist? Like, it's such a new problem because these antennas operate on different technologies, so they have to be a lot closer to have the same amount of coverage. So it's going to be a while before a lot of cities have full blanketed 5G coverage, and we're going to be dealing with that for years. And like, you won't know for years if you're going to have proper service in your city, I'm sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people in chat are saying that MKBHD did another 5G video, and I will definitely check that out. So that's something to keep in mind when you go to his channel. Maybe you're watching a different video than the one that I saw. All right. David Bouchard sent us this tweet. They said Stadiacast, and they, of course, included Google Stadia. They said, I thought downloads were a thing of the past, but NBA 2K, this pops up almost every time I play. Multiple times a day even. Is this normal? And it's a screen of downloading game updates. Whoops. No, this is not normal. This is not even a little normal. They have confirmed that this is a bug. A little PSA for everybody. When this pops up on the screen, do not hit the cancel button because it may corrupt your save file. Yeah, I've heard bad things about this, where somebody has hit the B button and they've canceled the downloading updates and their save file got corrupted and they lost their stuff. So I listen, I don't play sports games. I don't know anything about 2K games other than, like, they're the ones that made the BioShock games, right? They're the publishers for BioShock?
Publisher,
yeah. I don't know anything about 2K games. But I've heard bad things about not necessarily the gameplay itself, but the quality of the games from them. And again, I have no experience. I'm just speaking from third-hand information of what I see on the internet. This is bad. What do you think about this, Lloyd?
Yeah, that's how lazy do you have to be? Like, it's one thing to say, come on, devs, the Stadia buttons are different. You need to update your game to have the proper buttons on it. But this is like downloading updates. Like, what the hell? No, the whole point of Stadia is there's no updates. You just play the game. So I really wonder what they're doing. They're probably downloading roster updates or something, which is not not a patch to make your game better. Just the background information about your season or player trades and stuff like that. But that should all happen right right in the background. You shouldn't you shouldn't have to wait for a little progress meter to go by. Just so bizarre. And yeah, we're gonna probably have little stories like this over the next little bit as developers try to struggle with, okay, this isn't a console. It's a console, but it's not a console. We need to make the game a little bit different when it's running on Stadia than your Xbox One.
All right. The last thing that I wanted to talk about today is I put out the so last week I put out the tweet early on in the week, and I said, what do you guys want to hear us talk about on the show? And we got all kinds of feedback. And then I didn't do that until 9 o'clock this morning, about an hour before the show came out, or an hour before we started recording. I said, oh my God, I forgot. What do you guys want to hear about? And I sent it out, and we did get Swedish Gamer Dad replied. They said, textures. When are we getting HD 4K textures? Hardly no one, I think they mean hardly anyone is talking about it, and yet that is the biggest difference graphics-wise compared to consoles, Stadia's closest competitor. So, Lloyd, you and I kind of talked about this, about people focusing too much on the numbers and not enough about the fun. Do you want to kind of talk about what you said earlier?
Yeah, so we were chatting a little bit earlier about like just how games look, and if you're having fun at 720p, you're having fun. It doesn't matter if they update to 4K, you're still having fun. And I talked about a story about VR, and one of the podcasts I listened to, the hosts were arguing, and this is a host that normally isn't like this, but he's very much like this with VR, where he's saying, well, no, I'm not playing that game on my PlayStation VR. I'm playing it on my new whiz bang VR setup with a thing hanging from the ceiling that keeps the cords up and all these things around me. And the other host is like, okay, so you're not playing the game on the thing that costs $200. You're playing the game on the thing that costs $5,000. And wouldn't you have more fun, or wouldn't it be just as much fun on the $200 thing, even if it doesn't look as good? And there was some arguments back and forth, and I fully agree with that. If you are playing something on what you have on hand, you're able to have fun immediately, and you're able to have fun without spending thousands of dollars. So the people that are complaining that the games aren't 4K 60 yet, I get it. I've played 4K. I don't have a 4K set in my house, but I've played 4K before, and it does look better, but it doesn't look, I don't know, 2 out of 10 on a 10-point scale better if I was reviewing the game. Like, it doesn't make the game any better. It just maybe looks a little better. It can have some impact on various games if your draw distance isn't as far on this system and it's further on that system. Maybe if you're playing multiplayer, that's an issue. But at the end of the day, if you're having fun with your game, it doesn't really matter if it's 4K or 1080p. And 4K will come as developers get used to the console and the APIs of what Google is creating here. Your games are going to start looking better. But yeah, we just had an interesting back and forth before doing the show with Bill and I about, like, it doesn't matter what number is shown on your TV when you look at the settings of whatever's coming over your HDMI. If you're having fun with the game, you're having fun with the game. I can have fun with a game that originally came out on the 386. It definitely doesn't look as good as it does a game that just comes out on Stadia today. But a fun game is a fun game. So we maybe, as an industry and as super fans of an industry, maybe we focus a little bit too much on those numbers, and not as much on the amount of fun that we're having with whatever game is coming out.
And I completely agree with what you're saying there. And my immediate reaction is to compare it to, my son and I both have computers. And we used to play a game together all the time, Guild Wars 2, and we had a lot of fun with it. Now, my computer, much more powerful computer than the one that he has. His is basically built from hand-me-down parts. As I upgraded my stuff, I would give him my old parts in order to build him a system that he could play on. And the game looked better on my screen. It played better on mine, but we both had fun with it. Now, there are people in chat are saying, you're not really answering the question, why aren't we getting 4K textures? The reason why we're not getting 4K textures yet is because the developers are they're just starting out with this hardware. They haven't figured out all of the tricks that you can do in order to push this hardware to its absolute
Exactly.
maximum. And it's going to take some time before we get that. When we look at the PS4 or the Xbox One, those systems have been out for years. And because they've been out for years, developers have figured out a lot of the tricks that they can do in order to push those things even further. If you look at games that came out day one on the PS4 and compare that to something that comes out, I don't know, yesterday on the PS4, the newer games on the PS4 are going to look better than those older games if they're similar types of games. Don't go comparing something like a 2D sprite based whatever to something that's 3D. But you know, as time goes on and they have more time to work with this hardware, they're going to get better at it. They're going to get better at things like Vulkan, and that's going to make things look better down the road. So yes, 4K HD textures, we don't have them yet. It's coming. I'm sure it's coming. Especially, you have to remember that a lot of these things are ports, and they're ports of other games that were not made with Vulkan in mind. And so then they had to translate everything from probably running DirectX stuff to Vulkan stuff and running it on Linux. And it wasn't made with Stadia in mind. So it takes some time before that kind of stuff, comes into its own. At least that's how I feel about it. And you know why this is such a problem? This is such a problem because Google focused on the wrong thing. And they said 10.7 teraflops, 4K 60, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't have said any of that. They should have said, get the games you love on whatever screen you want. If they had said that, then people wouldn't be having this argument so much. And I feel like it's just bad for the platform for Google to have focused on that. And, you know, when they had that quick little, like, I think it was just before launch, they had that quick little 2-minute thing that they had put out, and Lloyd was like, that's what they should have done to begin with. And I thought, oh, maybe they learned, and they didn't, because sure enough, the commercial, like, they just did a holiday commercial, and there was a guy who was like, oh, it's 4K 60, 4K 60, 4K 60. Shut up about that. You're not helping your case.
Right.
You just move on. Say, have fun with the games you want on whatever screen you want. Say that instead. Google, that one's free. Lloyd, go
exactly.
ahead.
And people in the chat room are still focusing on my rant about fun games being fun and saying we didn't talk about texture quality. Well, yeah, and another comment came up. The person who said it scrolled past, and I can't find it right now. We're talking about as if the developers had Stadia a week before launch, and no, they had it 6 months or 12 months before launch. But taking a game that runs on one platform and making it run on a different platform isn't a 2-week thing. I just read an article about Witcher 3. It took them over a year to get it ported to the Nintendo Switch. And when they first got it going, for the first month, it was running at 10 frames a second, and it looked terrible. Like, it takes a while to get these things optimized. And while 4K texture, some people are saying that it's just a drop down in a list. Not really. If your game isn't designed for 4K textures, you have to rewrite your memory management. You have to rewrite the code that goes and grabs the textures and optimize the way that is pulling that stuff. It's not hard, but it does take time. And I think these developers that were getting the games on Stadia for launch were just worried about getting the game on launch and getting it working. And then who knows, maybe we'll get iterations where they'll make it look better down the road. But a better looking game doesn't necessarily make a more fun game. If you're having fun with the game at 1080p, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have more fun at 4K. But hopefully, as we get further into launch and as we get into where Stadia base is coming out, where everybody has access to it, we're going to have more games that are going to be running at 4K, so that people that are getting free 1080p have a reason to pay their $10 to get that 4K service. So hopefully before then, we'll have enough games that are going to be looking better at higher resolutions to convince them to buy into the Stadia Pro architecture, or not architecture, the Stadia Pro ecosystem. That's the word I was looking for. So that Google says, okay, we got 1 million people that are paying $10 a month. Let's keep doubling down and making bigger and better hardware and getting this stuff out there.
Terza Reactor is saying if they have in chat, they're saying if they have a PC version running at 4K, then the Stadia version should be available too. That's not the way it works. It's not simply a PC. They didn't simply just take the save files from the PC and install them on Stadia. It's different hardware, so they have to figure out how that hardware works. They can't just take, like, it's not like somebody's just grabbed a USB drive and says, here's your game. It just doesn't work that way. They have to tailor make it for that hardware. And there's just so many people out there that don't understand that. And then they make that argument, and it makes, a lot of people who are uninformed, they look at that and they're like, oh man, Stadia is trash because all they had to do is bring over the USB. That's not the way things work. Anyway, go ahead.
Your comment on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 games at launch and Xbox One and PlayStation 4 games 4 years down the road is the perfect argument. It takes time for developers to suck every little bit of performance out of the hardware, and that's what developers are dealing with Stadia right now. It's essentially a PC hardware. It's Linux, but they don't know the tricks to do different things like timing and memory and texture pipelines to make sure that it's not bogging down the engine. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to happen before games are able to get 100% utilization of a Stadia blade, and then they're going to start doing like the multi-blade stuff. Like there's so much work that developers have to do to get their stuff looking really good. It's going to take time.
It is. All right. We did get a super chat during the show. Anthony Talcott, who says right here, it says, so great to be able to watch you guys live. Best part of my day. Second best, showing naysayers footage of Stadia on my Pixel 4. Thank you very much for the support, Anthony. I would say, don't worry about naysayers. Just let them be naysayers if they want. There's nothing wrong with them being naysayers. They can dislike Coke as much as they want. They can love Pepsi all they want. It doesn't actually affect how much you have fun with your game. But thank you for the support, man.
Definitely.
All right. Follow the show on Twitter at Stadiacast. Follow me at Run Jump Stomp. Follow Lloyd at Dasme. And be sure to use the hashtag Stadiacast so that we can find your tweets. You can join our Discord over at over at runjumpstomp.com/Discord. And while you're joining Discords, Lloyd has his own Discord, which you should check out over at resd.tv/Discord. The music that you're about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. Check out their stuff at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Lloyd, thanks for joining me, man.
Thanks, Bill. Take it easy, everybody.
All right, there we go. We did it.
We did. A lot of people in the chat room are saying, why aren't we covering the Stadia Source articles? I'm assuming that those are people from Stadia Source. So sorry, we didn't cover it. It's not that we're ignoring stuff from Stadia Source. We just didn't cover it on the show. When we put out tweets saying what should we cover on the show, that's when you should be submitting your articles so we can take a peek at it.
Yeah, I don't know what stadiasource.com is. I'm assuming it's the .com.
Let's see.
I don't see, like, where are people saying that?
There's a couple chats.
Drone, why do you not show Stadia Source and love their site rocks? I mean, because we don't look at it. I tend not to look at other content creators' stuff. I tend to try and go for like source information and make up my own mind about stuff. So I don't look at other Stadia YouTubers. I don't listen to other Stadia podcasts. I did listen to the Google Stadia show like a couple times just to make sure that those guys were reputable before I had them on the show. I like to make up my own mind, so I don't look at other people's content for the most part.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. I learned early. I've been podcasting forever, and I saw early on that if I'm reading a lot of articles about something, that sneaks its way into when I'm talking about the game, and I don't want to do any of that. Like the whole plagiarism thing that was happening online a while ago. I want nothing to do with that. So I generally don't listen to other content creators around the same sort of content, except I listen to Nintendo Switchcraft because Bill's awesome.
Aw, thanks, man. All right.
Boom, boom,
Thank you
boom,
guys
boom.
for hanging out with us.
Yeah, a couple 400 people here. It's nice to chat with you all.
Holy cow. I hadn't even looked. I had that window closed the whole time. 422 people here. Holy cow. Only 70 likes, man. A lot of people must not like our stuff. Hit that thumbs up button, people.
I noticed that when I started ranting, we got a couple thumbs down. So that shows what people think of my thoughts on that matter, I guess.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about that, man. We get thumbs down every single I can go live and I will have a thumbs down on that live stream within the first minute of the stream, which means that person is just here to say that they hate they don't like me or they don't like Stadia, which is fine. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like Stadia. I don't care. If you want to view my stuff to click thumbs down, then go for it, man.
Yeah, it's so weird. So weird. But hey, to each their own. Everyone has to have a hobby, I guess.
All right. So I just got a text from my wife. My niece broke her left fibula.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, I feel bad for her. Jason Curtis, thank you very much for the super chat. Today is my 50th birthday and loving the show. Happy birthday, Jason. Thank you very much for the support.
Happy birthday to Cookie Dude. Happy birthday to Cookie Dude. I can't go any further because of takedown requests from rights holders.
Didn't that go into the public domain now?
I think it is now. I think there's enough court battles where it's finally in the public domain. But fibula. Is she old? Is she like under 10?
No, she's 16.
Okay, well that'll heal fine because she's already done most of the growth spurts. There's gonna be no growth plate issues. But man,
yeah,
that sucks.
It really sucks because like she does indoor track and she just got #1 for the hammer throw. She got #1 for hammer throw at their first meet. They're against 25 other schools or whatever, and so she's probably going to be out for the season, which that's going to be upsetting. But that's okay. She's got next year.
Yeah, for sure. But oh my God, that's yikes. Anthony Telko, network and body expert. No, all I know is that my daughter injured herself a few times, and we're worried about issues with growth spurts and growth plates and all that stuff. And thankfully, none of that happened to her. Because you always hear the horror stories where a kid hurts its leg at some point, and then one leg is shorter than the other because it was damaged during the growth spurt time, and that's always a bit of an issue. But yeah, yikes.
They want to know what's on your hat.
Here.
Is that itchy and scratchy?
No, it's a beer logo from one of my favorite local beer craft beer places. It's their Rabbit Punch beer from Torque. So I have to wear the hat because I love that beer.
People are asking what happened to my gaming glasses. I don't like wearing glasses when I'm wearing headphones. Is really the issue. I can't stand it. Does it bug you to wear glasses when you're wearing headphones, Lloyd?
I had to find headphones that actually work. Like, are so squishy, it doesn't hurt at all. But the headphones that I wore for 5 years, that were my studio headphones, they sound better than these ones. They would, after an hour, I would have pain in the side of my head. But these ones are so soft. It's like I'm not even wearing headphones. It's fantastic.
English only, please. If I can't read it, then I'm gonna time it out every single time. Brian Robertson, I love that you guys have clean content. I enjoy being able to watch with my son. Well, keep in mind that sometimes we will be streaming games that are rated M. Now, I don't know about Lloyd, but I am always, like, what I say is always PG. but I can't, like, I don't know what's going to happen in a game. And so sometimes I play a game that's rated M. By the way, Darksiders 2, rated M. Do you think it should be rated M? Or not Darksiders 2, Darksiders Genesis.
Genesis, there's a lot of blood, but you're also very far away from it, and it's goblin blood. Normally that doesn't make the rated M thing. I don't know, maybe later in the game there's something a little bit more racy, but yeah, I have no problems with my kids playing that, for example.
Yeah, they're noticing that your camera's messing up from time to time. Welcome to the internet.
It looks like we're having some bandwidth issues, or maybe Discord's having issues again. Discord was down for like 6 hours this morning, and it came up like 20 minutes before we're starting the show. So it could be that.
Yeah. All right. So what are you going to do for the rest of the day, Lloyd? You going to play any games? You going to stream anything?
I'm going to be getting the Christmas tree set up and getting some of that stuff happen. And then hopefully I'll be doing some streaming a little bit later today. If people want, I'll stream some Stadia over here. If that's what people are excited about, I can definitely do some more Darksiders.
Awesome. All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications. It looks like Lloyd is going to be streaming later. I might stream later, and it's cool because we can both stream at the same time on YouTube, which we haven't tried yet. But that's kind of a neat thing.
We should try that to see if it works for a co-op thing where we could play Darksiders together, and we each have our own streams, so people could open 2 windows if they wanted.
That's true. And then we wouldn't have to worry about sending our camera to the other person at the same time, which is always kind of a pain. Yeah, we'll have to test that out. We can't test it today because we're going to be decorating the tree, and of course, my poor niece broke her legs, so I'm going to be pretty busy. I might stream later though. But hey, subscribe, click the bell, notifications, click like. We went up to 92 likes, so thank you guys very much. I'm going to take off. Lloyd, you have an awesome day, man.
You too, Bill, and take it easy, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you in a few hours with some Darksiders.